Let us now go to another disease entity that manifests with edema, which is nephrotic syndrome. The basic features of nephrotic syndromes are edema, massive proteinuria, hypoalbuminemia with or without hypercholesterolemia or hyperlipidemia. The epidemiology of nephrotic syndrome is such that 1 out of 20,000 children are diagnosed annually, and the prevalence is that 1 out of 6,600 children are living with nephrotic syndrome today. Age incidence of nephrotic syndrome is 2 to 6 years with an average of 3.9 years with the male to female ratio of 2:1. The etiology of nephrotic syndrome is usually either idiopathic or secondary nephrotic syndrome. Idiopathic nephrotic syndrome is subdivided into minimal change nephrotic syndrome, focal glomerulosclerosis, and mesangial proliferation. Secondary nephrotic syndrome is usually related to systemic or glomerular disease. The major underlying pathophysiologic abnormality in nephrotic syndrome is the increased glomerular capillary wall permeability, leading to massive proteinuria, which primarily involves albumin, leading to hypoalbuminemia. The basic mechanism of nephrotic syndrome is unknown. However, in patients with minimal change nephrotic syndrome, there is alteration of cytokines due to T-cell dysfunction, leading to the partial loss of the negatively charged glycoproteins within the capillary wall, which then increases the capillary wall permeability. In patients with focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, this is due to a plasma factor produced by lymphocytes which increases capillary wall permeability, and in these patients the podocyte proteins in the form of podocin and alpha-actinin are damaged. And in patients with steroid-resistant nephrotic syndrome, there is mutation in the podocin NPHS2 and the WT1 genes. This is the pathophysiology of edema formation in nephrotic syndrome. Take note that two theories are involved, the underfill and the overfill theory. Please take time in reviewing the following slide. Simplifying the edema formation of nephrotic syndrome involves, as mentioned, massive proteinuria which led to hypoalbuminemia, leading to a decrease on oncotic pressure. This then would lead to transudation of fluid from the intravascular to the interstitial fluid compartment, decreasing the intravascular volume. The decreased intravascular volume then stimulates ADH release, which enhances water reabsorption in the collecting ducts. On the other hand, the decreased intravascular volume would also lead to a decreased renal perfusion pressure, activating the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, which then stimulates distal tubular sodium reabsorption. Therefore, in general, there is sodium and water retention. Because of the decreased plasma oncotic pressure, the reabsorbed sodium and water are lost into the interstitial space, exacerbating the edema. Hyperlipidemia, which may not be found in patients with nephrotic syndrome, are due to the following factors. 1. Hypoproteinemia per se stimulates generalized hepatic protein synthesis, and the diminished lipid catabolism due to reduced lipoprotein lipase leads to an increased urinary loss of the enzyme. Let us first go and look at congenital nephrotic syndrome. Congenital nephrotic syndrome is nephrotic syndrome occurring within the first 3 months of life. The most common type is the Finnish type congenital nephrotic syndrome, which is an autosomal recessive and seen in the population of Scandinavian descent. It also involves mutation of one of the two podocyte protein genes, the nephrin and podocin. The podocyte protein genes are the key components of the slit diaphragm of the glomerular epithelial wall and plays an essential role in the normal function of the glomerular filtration barrier. The major pathologic features in patients with congenital nephrotic syndrome are the dilatation of the proximal tubules, mesangial hypercellularity, as well as glomerular sclerosis. Clinical manifestations of patients with congenital nephrotic syndrome also show massive proteinuria in the form of increased alpha-fetoprotein in utero. These patients would have a large placenta, and they are markedly edematous, and they usually are premature with signs of respiratory distress and separation of the cranial sutures. Aside from the Finnish type of nephrotic syndrome, these are some of the congenital causes of congenital nephrotic syndrome, which are usually infectious in nature. They are, however, less severe than the Finnish type and may improve or resolve with the treatment of the underlying infection. The natural history of congenital nephrotic syndrome is such that there is persistent large placenta with recurrent infections and progressive renal failure, such that these patients may die by the age of 5. The corticosteroids and immunosuppressive therapy are of no value in the treatment of congenital nephrotic syndrome. The main objective in the treatment is to diminish proteinuria and ameliorate the nephrotic state by giving ACE inhibitors, indomethacin, and in some patients unilateral nephrectomy. Aggressive nutritional support, as well as chronic dialysis and kidney transplantation, are the mainstays in the treatment of congenital nephrotic syndrome. Let us now look into idiopathic nephrotic syndrome. Idiopathic nephrotic syndrome is usually found in 90% of nephrosis in childhood. Its etiology and pathogenesis are unclear, and it is probably mediated by immunologic mechanism. The circumstances that would point to the immunologic mechanism of this disease are the presence or the response of these patients to corticosteroid, meaning that they are immune mediated, and the hereditary mechanism, which are gene markers in the HLA system. Epidemiology of nephrotic syndrome is such that it occurs in 1 to 10 years of age, with the peak at around 2 to 6 years of age, with the male to female ratio of 2:1. There are three morphologic patterns in nephrotic syndrome. First is the minimal change nephrotic syndrome, wherein histologically normal glomeruli with minimal increase in mesangial cells and matrix are seen. Electron microscopy would show epithelial cell food process retraction, and these patients are 95% steroid responsive. The second pattern is in patients with focal glomerulosclerosis. In these patients, histology would show a normal glomeruli with mesangial proliferation and segmental scarring. However, this pattern is progressive in nature and leads to end-stage renal failure in most patients. Only 20% of these patients are steroid or cytotoxic therapy responsive. The third morphologic pattern is the mesangial proliferative type. There is diffuse increase in mesangial cells and matrix, and immunofluorescence studies would show IgM and C3 mesangial deposits. Only 50 to 60% of these patients are steroid responsive. The mean ages at presentation of the three morphologic patterns are as follows. Minimal change disease usually occurs by the age of 3 years. Focal segmental glomerulosclerosis at 6 years, while membranous proliferative glomerulonephritis usually occurs by the age of 10 years. As mentioned, the pathophysiologic mechanism of nephrotic syndromes involves protein selectivity and alteration in the glomerular capillary fiber and leads to hypoalbuminemia. Clinical manifestations of nephrotic syndrome are as follows. First, there is generalized edema, and there may be facial, periorbital, scrotal, labial, or pedal edema. Pallor may be seen in these patients, and these patients will manifest with respiratory symptoms in the form of dyspnea or tachypnea due to pleural effusion. Gastrointestinal manifestations may be seen in these patients because these patients would usually manifest with ascites, so these patients may be anorexic with abdominal pain, diarrhea, and hepatomegaly. Oliguria may be seen in this patient, and most of these patients with nephrotic syndrome usually has associated infection.